Good evening. Good evening, coaches. How you doing? Hello, Coach Paula, Coach Jason, Coach Rachel, Sylvia, Coach Sylvia, and Coach Yvonne. How are you? How you doing?
Good evening, coach. Good evening, coaches.
Good evening. How's it going?
Great to be here.
Yes.
Nilipotea kidogo, but great to be here. I
Karibu
missed you
sana.
people. I missed you people.
Karibu sana. We missed you
Asante.
too.
Thank
Karibu.
you.
We don't like people missing. We like to
Yeah.
grow together. Who else has been missing? Please say hi. Who wants to say hi before we get started? Okay, then let's get started. I want you to take a deep breath, anchor yourself. Excuse me, take a deep breath into your belly. Hold it, hold it in your belly. Push your belly out and then slowly out through the mouth. Yes. So it's good to begin from there. Now, today we are going straight into our topic, and I'm looking at discussing pattern interrupt. How do you help your client interrupt a pattern in their life that is consistent over a period of time? How do you interrupt patterns through coaching and speaking? What can you do? First of all, let's start with what is pattern interrupt? Can someone help us? What is that? What is pattern interrupt? On the comment section, let me see. What is pattern interrupt? And they say you're interrupting a pattern. What are you really doing with your client or in your life? Because this is practical living. This is applicable in your life too. What do you think is pattern interrupt? When you hear the word interrupt and you hear pattern, what comes to your mind, Coach Paula? Coach Paula, are you there? When you hear pattern interrupt, what comes to your mind? Yes, Coach.
I've never heard of the term, but I can try.
Yes, please.
Yes. Pattern interrupt. Maybe a client has a recurring pattern and you're trying to help them. You are trying to help them overcome that pattern.
Yeah.
So it's like you're interrupting with that pattern they are struggling with.
Well done. Well done. Thank you, Coach. You've done very well. Coach Moriah, what is pattern interrupt? Coach Moriah, what do you think it's pattern? When you hear pattern interrupt, what does it mean? What do you think?
Coach, I had just posted, is it when you intentionally interrupt a current pattern for desired results? That's what I'm thinking.
Well done. Well done. Thank you, Coach. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you for sharing that, Coach. Who else wants to share? Okay, now we know what pattern interrupt is. And let me just summarize it. If you're writing down on your notebook, I want you to write this. Pattern interrupt is any technique you use to disrupt an automatic habitual thinking. Now, let me repeat that because repetition is powerful. Any technique Now, that is intentional. Any technique you use to interrupt an automatic habitual thinking, emotions, or behavior. I want that to sink. Let me repeat again. A pattern interrupt is any technique you use to disrupt. Like, it's not expected. You just shock the system of your client. This is how people make change. People don't make change by sweet lullabies. They make change by pattern interrupt. So a pattern interrupt is a technique, is any technique you use, whatever it is, that disrupts. I like it when politicians say it's not going to be business as usual. But then you realize it's business as usual. There's no pattern interrupt. It's the same pattern. Pattern interrupt is not business as usual. You are disrupting the automatic habitual thinking. So kama mtu alikuwa anakuona a certain way, if you want to interrupt their pattern, you got to disrupt the way you usually interact with them. So you are disrupting emotions and thinking, because those are the two main areas of change. If you want to change someone, you change their emotions and you change their thinking habits. So underline the word disruptive. It's disruptive, automatic, habitual thinking, emotions, and behaviors. And what it does is it creates a moment of surprise to your client, or to the person that you're dealing with, or to yourself, because sometimes you need to learn to disrupt your own patterns. If as a coach, you cannot disrupt your own patterns, then it becomes hard for you to consciously disrupt someone else's patterns. And so it's that moment that creates surprise. You're like, oh my God, shock. I didn't expect that. And reflection. Like, oh my God, I've never seen it that way. Allowing a shift of perspective, allowing a shift of behavior. If you want people to change, there must be pattern interrupt. Otherwise, there's not going to be change. People don't like to change. We don't like to change unless change is a must. And so for you to help your client to change, you have to make change a must for them. You want to make change a must. How do you make change a must for your client? Is by interrupting those patterns, those emotions, those behaviors, so that they can reflect. And there are many ways of pattern interrupt. How does it work? Write that down on your notebook. How does pattern interrupt work? How does it work? How do we employ it in our coaching and in our personal life? Because I say this is not just for coaching work. This is life. Like when you're interrupting people's emotions, interrupting people's thinking and behavior, that means they'll never be the same again. And when you master this, you master the strategies of change. And you master a strategy that can help you change groups of people and can help you facilitate change for individuals. So how does it work? Now, listen. Our brains, because the change, the interruption, disruption is in the brain. Our brains naturally follows patterns in a way that is familiar. And our brains like familiar. And we don't make change until the change. The old version of us, the old patterns are made unfamiliar. So when you interrupt someone's pattern, it forces the brain to reassess its world and create a new normal. It creates a new world, and that's how we change. For our parents, those who grew up in our generation, the pattern interrupt ilikuwa coffee. Some of us, okay, we call it reset, factory resetting. You're given one slap, especially when your mother was so mad and she doesn't have words to communicate to you how she feels. That's called pattern interrupt. You did not expect mama's coffee. And I don't mean coffee chai, I mean the slap. The slap of a mother. I don't know which school did African mothers went for this kind of training. I'm telling you, you are slapped until your patterns change. Your world just reset. Nowadays, I see children, you're sitting down, and it's good because some of us, you're not strong enough and you went through the kind of parenting I went through. Right now, you're dealing with trauma. But it has its place. There's a way you deal with people. If you don't put them to a place of interrupting their pattern, they will never change. They'll never change. You're always elevating them, elevating them, elevating them. They don't take you seriously. There are people whose patterns are so strong, they don't just change by being told, come baby, come. It has to be a strong intervention of pattern interrupt, which forces the brain to reassess the situation. Nowadays, if a child goes wrong, you sit down and say, oh, what's the issue? What's the matter? All of us have become therapists now because we want to heal, even someone who's never been to a therapy class, talking to you, oh, yeah. How is it, baby? Oh, my baby. You are healing yourself. And there's a level we don't reach in terms of change because we are not interrupting patterns strong enough. Now, the stronger the pattern, the stronger the interruption needed. And the interruption could be something extraordinary like mama's slap, and I'm not telling you to slap people, that's just an example. It's something out of their world, they did not expect it. If you're talking like this, and then all of a sudden you go like this, that's a pattern interrupt. So it's something shocking. It must be something moving people from their current disposition to either question or reflect. And some of us, we don't serve our clients good enough to interrupt their patterns. If you have friends, most of us love each other in the comfort zone because pattern interruption is outside the comfort zone. It's beyond. You do it, if you want, and it's beyond. And you can do this as a speaker, and you can do this as a coach. Doing something radical. It has to be radical, and it has to be unexpected, but ethical. Remember that. Remember, as coaches, we are tied by ethics of practice. And so it has to be ethical. It has to be something that is ethical and something that is extraordinary. They did not expect. It can even be a request. Like, if you're working with a client who's broken their leg, maybe both legs, they've broken their both legs, and they want to do their wedding 2 months after you met them, and They want to do the wedding. They want to stand on their feet and, do their wedding. But in their head, they know my leg is broken. How do you interrupt? One of the ways is just suggesting, like, out of the ordinary exercise. Let's go out for a walk. Let's climb the mountain. Something like out of the ordinary. Now, for you to employ pattern interrupt, you cannot be a normal coach. You transactional. Let me call it transactional coach. You must be devoted to the results of your client no matter what. And also you must be tied to a level of ethical practice. Ethical practice is just how mature we do our job as coaches. Although for me, I deeply believe that I can do whatever it takes to help my client. I can do whatever it takes. Like, I'm not tied to a process. I'm tied to my client's results. I want them to get results. And when you can interrupt their patterns of thought, like they did not, this person never thought, this person was told they'll be in a wheelchair, and you're suggesting you go on a Ngong Hills hike. You can imagine the shock on their face. They think you're crazy. And if as a coach, you're not seen as crazy, you're not doing your work. You are still thinking at the level of your client. A coach must be someone that challenges your client to think. The human body and mind is unlimited. It can do amazing things. Personally, I know people that were physically disabled, and with a pattern challenge, interrupt through a challenge, they reclaimed their health back. True story. Both male, female, young and old. And if as a coach, I did not step up and not believe in the level of thinking of my client, these people would never have gotten their health. So the pattern interrupt is where you as a coach believe in the potential of your client. Do you believe it's possible? Do you understand how the brain works? And that even, when interrupted, the brain has potential to unleash resources that would just blow your client's mind. That is great coaching, when you can interrupt the patterns of your client. So you want to be consciously aware, am I interrupting this person's patterns? And what are some of the common ways that we can use as coaches to interrupt our clients' patterns? Now, I'll give you an example. If our client keeps saying, "Oh, Jeff, I'm not good enough," the coach may just ask a question like, suddenly you want this to move so fast, because disruption comes like lightning. You don't want them to process thinking the way they usually process. Like a simple question like, oh, okay, someone believes, I'm not good enough, Jeff. I don't deserve this. You can ask them a question like, when was the last time you felt truly proud of yourself? When was the last time you felt proud of yourself? That would disrupt the pattern. I'm not good enough. When was, for them to answer that question, their patterns disrupted. Another one I like is when dealing with couples and they come into you at a time they hate each other, and you ignore their current situation and ask them this question: when last did she blow your mind? Or when last did he blow your mind? Pattern interrupt. So they come with all those emotions that if you flow with those emotions, you may never find solution until you interrupt their pattern. And you can use a simple question that helps them to shift their perspective from helplessness, hopelessness, to beginning to think a new perspective, a new hope. So you can use questions to disrupt negative thinking of your clients. What are some of the other questions you can use? What are some of the other interruptions you can use? Let me see on the comment section. Aha. Oh, someone remembers Mama's coffee. Yeah. The one I'm telling you is like they have been paid to do it. And they do it proper. You are dealing with discipline issues. I'm telling you, you become a preacher. You become a priest. You become one that the Lord is going to use through your coffee moja too, and you are negotiating. Do I do this? Do I do that? No, not with Mama. And give me another question that can interrupt. Yes, Coach Yvonne, I see that. I like that. What are you afraid of losing? What are you afraid of losing? Good one. That one will interrupt. Let me see. What else? What else? A question that can interrupt your client's pattern. A question that can interrupt your clients. Let me see on the comments section. A question. Coach Sylvia is saying, is this your best currently? Is this your best currently? Nice. If they have never thought of their best, or you can turn that into, what is your best that you're capable of seeing? Because sometimes when the question is yes, you want to avoid yes and no questions with your client, because most people are in that mindset of yes or no. So if you ask me, is this your best? And then I tell you yes, or I tell you no. End of the story. So you want to ask a question that is open-ended question. Okay, I like that. What is the one thing you would do if failure wasn't an option? Yes. You can even tell them, imagine failure right now is not an option. What would you do right now? And how you interrupt a pattern is backed up by your voice and your body. Like, you must mean it. Bring your presence as a coach. When you're interrupting, pattern interruption session is different from a conversation session, where you anchor yourself, you bring your body presence, you feel your energy, you get there. As you're asking your client this question, you're asking them, so what's protecting or preventing you from being your highest self? How you say it is important. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So you want to put some emphasis on some of the words here, the key words, okay? So that you communicate energy and hope and expectation that you believe in your client. So the way you can even lean forward and ask that question, what if you die in the next few hours? I like that. Let me see. Okay. What regrets would you have? What if you died in the next few hours? What regrets? That will change the pattern. Which date do you want to fix for your wedding? Nice one. I like that. What is the date? That's a good one. Yes. Especially if the client was not expecting, they did not even believe they can get married. I like that. What date can you fix for your wedding? And am I invited? You know, they begin to think differently because transformation is about thinking. It's about thinking. What else can this business become? That's out of the box. What else? Any question that begins with what else is a powerful question because you're moving them to the next level. What else do you see apart from your pain? That's another good one. What else do you see apart from your pain? You meet your client and all they are talking about is their pain. They're being, you know, broken. If you focus on that, you'll be wasting your time and their time. And just a simple question like, what else would you focus on right now to enjoy life even more? What else would you focus on right now to enjoy life even more? What else? What else? Brilliant. So you can use questions in coaching to disrupt the negative thinking. You can also use communication, like how you communicate. You can interrupt your client. If I whisper, hey, you are not expecting. My pattern was interrupted there. So you can interrupt patterns by just whispering. When you're speaking, you don't want to go monotonous. You don't want to go the same voice from the beginning all the way to the end, unless your intention is to put people to sleep. So you want to change your tonality, and that way you interrupt the pattern. One of the ways I do that is with a pause. You pause. Sometimes just hit the table. They did not expect it. Something dramatic. So, Coach Jason told me he's now in a drama club in school. You're going to learn a lot that you can use in coaching in drama club. Pattern interrupt actually requires drama, but it's ethical drama. So when we are doing ethics of coaching, you're also learning how do I execute ethical drama. It's drama that helps my client to change, but is ethical. It's ethical drama. Okay. Another one is when you can tell your client, imagine. You just tell them, imagine for a moment. Imagine for a moment, and then you're telling them the opposite of what they could not believe. Imagine for a moment. Imagine for a moment that everything you thought you knew was wrong. Can you imagine that? Imagine for a moment, just a moment, that everything you thought you knew right now was wrong. How do you approach life differently? That one will push you out of your comfort zone. That one will push you. Imagine everything you knew right now. Everything was wrong. How do you approach life differently? Now, such a question you're asking someone who is so sold out to stories that don't serve them. Just bring in the word imagine. Now, you see, as a business person, as a life coach, you're a business person, and you have to learn to interrupt patterns in your marketing. Because if people just see you, they're just watching you like everyone else, and there's no pattern interruption, then it's very hard for them to buy into your business. For you to market well and sell your coaching, one of the ways to interrupt the pattern of your client is to begin your presentations with a question. What if I told you there's a way to solve all your problem within 5 minutes if you are 100% committed. Imagine that. One statement that just grabs their attention. What if I told you, everyone will be like, hey, I would like to know which way, especially people who've tried, you know, we've tried everything. And then you're saying, what if I told you that there was a way you can solve your problems within 5 minutes if you're 100% committed? So they want to know the way. You've already given a promise, and that interrupts their pattern. So instead of coming, oh, I'd like to sell coaching to you, it helps you transform your life. You're going to learn. People actually don't like to learn. So language can tell you whether you're interrupting people's pattern or not. And the way you speak can give you a place in the marketplace, or you can find no space because of the noise. So the way to interrupt the noise, one of the ways is to make your presentations catchy by using questions. What if I told you that sickness, that there is a way to heal your body totally? What if I told you there's a way to heal your body totally? What if I told you there was a way? What if I told you that which you've called lasting sickness is a false news? What if I told you? You see, so that's something that, oh, really? How? Who is this? You see, if you want to grab, you have to be like Jesus if you want to grab people's attention. Either people will fall down and worship you, or pick a stone and stone you. But most of us want to be in the middle. We just want to, oh, I'm selling you coaching. If you're interested, you know, I'm a certified coach. Please, here's my number. You can call me. No, you're not saying anything. 1,000 other people have said that. What grabs attention of your ideal client and sets you apart as a different, unique coach that they want to pay to work with? What if I told you it's possible? What if I told you it's possible to persuade your client to buy within the first 5 minutes? What if I told you there was a plan, a process that you can apply to get your client to beg you to take their money? Imagine that. Really? A client begging me to take my money? Yeah, because they can see the value. What if I told you there's a way? So the way you start your communication, the way you communicate your message, you communicate your product, your experience. I like experience more than product, because in coaching, we don't buy products, we buy experiences. People come to you because they want to experience you, and they want to experience your coaching. And this is what sets you apart from any other coach. And if you want to be a C-level coach, a top-level coach, you really must master this art of pattern interrupt. And it can be as simple as someone talks too much. They talk too much, and you can interrupt that with just a cough. And I'm telling you, our parents knew this. They used to have this pattern interrupt. My mother never went to any coaching school, but I can tell you, she is one of the masters of pattern interrupt. Anakuangalia tu anaona, this one will talk until kingdom come. And then you just hear her cough, another continuous cough until you stop. Another one is you just keep quiet. You've been listening to this person saying, tell me, and all of a sudden, just keep quiet. You interrupt their pattern, because It's like you're playing for them a guitar. And they're just in that circle. They don't change. They're just, and you're just, the same thing, So sometimes elevation can be addictive, and they don't change. They just come into the sessions to give you stories, and there's no change. One of the ways I do that is just to keep quiet and look at my client and keep quiet. And I begin to ask, maybe, is there something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Now we are making progress, because questions are better than stories that don't serve us. Remember, they have told themselves these stories over and over and over again. And they want to come and continue telling the stories in your coaching sessions. What kind of a coach do you want to be? So you don't want to be the one that perpetuates the same story, the same standard, the same decision, the same destiny. There is no change. Another one that comes to mind is just the question, really? Really? You've interrupted their pattern. When they expected you to say yes, yes, amen, oh, go on, really? Just ask, oh, really? And also how you really depends on how your really is. Because you can say, really? That's different from really. You prolong it, you've broken their pattern. Because they're like, okay, so what do you have in mind? Because sometimes a client comes and is just talking non-stop. And because you're a nice coach, you're just there saying, okay. No, you have to interrupt their pattern. Find a way to interrupt their pattern so that their story can come to an end. They can begin a new story. Otherwise, listening to their story, and the Spirit of God inside you does a lot of work to tell you when a story does not add anything to the progress of your client. They're just, so as a coach, you develop intuition. And you can interrupt a story by question like, well, that sounds great, but tell me about this. That's really interesting, but I want to hear about this. Can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about this? You are interrupting their pattern. And that can be the best thing that ever happened to them. Pattern interrupt is not just for coaching. It is for life. Really, that's how you live quality life, by interrupting people's patterns. If you want to change people, you really must interrupt their patterns by having that unexpected question they did not expect. Like someone comes to you, they are frustrated, and instantly you ask them, what is the most beautiful place and peaceful place you've ever visited? They never expected that. They thought they would tell you about their divorce or separation, and then you go like, oh my God. So pattern interrupt goes against the expectations of your client, and it's a very important tool to use. Another one that I like is humor. You can interrupt patterns through humor. A well-timed joke that just lightens the moment. And this one you have to practice over and over again. Humor is crucial. You can practice this with your friends even before you practice with your clients. Let me give you an example I'd written down there. If a meeting is getting too tense, you might say something like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. After all, we are not deciding the fate of the universe. Okay. Let's not take ourselves so seriously. After all, we are not deciding the fate of the world here. Because sometimes everyone is focused on this is like the end of the world. Let's not take ourselves so seriously, guys. We are not launching COVID vaccine. This is not a cure for COVID, guys. And people can relax. Because when people are emotional, sometimes it feels like life and death, and yet it's something very tiny. You can bring in a well-timed joke that fits. And it has to be well-timed. Sometimes the joke can make things worse. You have to practice this over and over and over again. You're flowing with the rhythm of life so that you know what's the right joke for that moment. And when you do that, you become a great communicator. When you do that, you become a great interventionist, someone that can bring about change in your client's life. Okay, let me see if we have some questions here. Any questions? Any questions on pattern, coach? I'll ask if you take ice bath to interrupt your patterns. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. If you're used to hot water and then you take the ice bath, that's pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt. Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. Especially if you're in your 40s and you're used to the story that lazima maji chemke, and then you go to the shower, cold shower, make it even ice bath. Pattern. It's a reset of your system, the entire system. You see, pattern interrupt is as simple as the client expected this, and you do something totally different. Let me see if there are any questions on that. What comes to my mind also on this subject is the physical gestures that you use. Like an unexpected gesture can interrupt the pattern of your client. Okay, like the client expected you to just come and greet them, and then you just come and high five them and ignore their depressing moods. Now, some of us, we are so nice in terms of we are thermostats. We connect with what the world is feeling and we feel it and we want to encourage it. Sometimes you want to be the leader. You want to be the only guy against the flow. You want to stand there and be the one that says, no, I believe you got more than this. So it could be an expression. They did not expect it. Oh my God. It's a pattern interrupt. They could not expect it. And it can be tonality, the change of voice. So you want to do away with monotony. If you want to be a great speaker, a great coach, even in your coaching conversation, monotony can be make your client to switch off and think there is not going to be any change. But that variation of voice going up and down. You can also change the subject. You're talking to a couple and, or you know, it can even be a young person. You're talking about this subject of performance, and it's so depressing They focus, the more you talk about it, the more depressed they are. And all of a sudden, you talk about something that is unrelated. Do you know what it means to make yogurt? Something as silly as that can change their pattern. Yogurt? Really? You're talking about yogurt? And they can even begin to laugh because it takes them out of state. Pattern interrupt takes you out of state. Yes, Coach Yvonne.
Thank you, Coach. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask, can you do the pattern interrupt like repeatedly? Because you meet a client and this
Yeah.
client like is married to his or her story in
Yes.
such a way, as much as you are interrupting the pattern, he will still go back within the same answer of that question that you have asked.
Yes. You can repeat over and over and over again. And that can be leverage. Now that becomes leverage. Remember we said leverage is to bring change by using pain and pleasure. So because pattern interrupt is something that is shocking, it brings that instant shock into their life. If you do it over and over again, they don't want to go back there. So sometimes you need to repeat. If it's long-term addiction, there's one that is totally crazy. This one, what the coach did, the coach was helping a smoker, someone that was smoking like his entire life. The guy is in his 50s and he's a moving, smoke like everywhere. He's a chain smoker. Everything everywhere is smoking. And so what the coach did was crazy, but it worked. So he told the client, which cigarette do you smoke? And he said, yeah, this one. He gave the name and he told him, go and buy it. And I want you to buy this number of cartons and bring them to our session. That shocked the guy. He could not believe it. He said, okay, what kind of a coach did I hire? Is this crazy? And the coach was willing to lose the client because he knew there's no other way to help this guy. Other coaches have come and just told him stories and nothing has changed. I have to really give this guy a pattern interrupt he will never forget. So he brought those 5 cartons of cigarettes and he told him, open it. And you're not just saying open it, it's open it. First of all, he has signed a contract. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to change my life. Sign. So hakuna kitu anakufanyia. Now you as a coach, as a professional, you're the one who knows what does it take to bring this change, of course within ethical practice. So he told the guy, okay, so you want to stop smoking? Let's go. So I'm going to time you. If you want me to help you, I'll time you. You got to smoke the 5 in this number of minutes. That guy smoked so fast and smoked because of the coach could leverage the voice the coach is using. Like, now, you do it now, we leave it now here. I never want to see you again. You say no, this will be your destiny. You never see, and I don't think you're going to even attend your daughter's wedding. You will not be there. Science shows if you continue like this, you may not be there. And I don't want to be part of the testimonial of another coach that came into your life. Smoke it. And the guy did 1, 2, 3. By the time he's reaching 3, the guy is almost dying and coughing and said, I'll never again want to smoke. In fact, he said, you cannot force me. Who do you think you are to force me to smoke? And the coach is like, we are making progress. We are making progress. So now he's taking back his power. He can decide no. So a negative pattern interrupt creates a positive response that nothing else could have created. Huyo jamaa ungemuombea, huyo jamaa ungempatia all the therapy, nothing. He has seen all of them. The top in the market, nothing has changed. That guy, that was the last time he ever smoked. Last time. And the coach only needed 1 session and it's done. The power of pattern interrupt. But like I said, you have to be inspired and you have to practice within ethical standards. And you have to be willing to get to that place of discomfort. You can imagine this person, this coach, if they're operating in fear, they'll think my client is going to die. This one, whatever I lose, in the news, it will be breaking news. The coach who killed his client. My business is gone. This one is over. But then the opposite happened. He became the coach everyone wants to take. You see, risk. That's how risk works. It's either you're willing to go out of the comfort zone or willing to remain small. And this is the power of pattern interrupt. Is you're willing to do extremely powerful and extraordinary things that your client did not expect. Okay. I talked about silence, that you can just pause and say nothing. That's a huge pattern interrupt. Refusal to be your client's coach. It's a pattern interrupt. Let me give you an example. So a client comes to me. In my mind, I know this person is not committed. I mean, I can just see from the first session, this person is something within me that tells me they're not committed. And at the end, I just tell them, I'm sorry. I really only work with people who are committed. And then I can have leverage on who is a committed client. I can tell them, this is my qualification of a committed client. I don't think you're there yet. You see, the expectation of the client is all coaches are just looking for money. You've interrupted their pattern. Let me tell you, that client will do everything possible to work with you because you're a different coach. You're priceless. We don't have so many coaches like that. We don't. We have coaches who, you hear the client will pay. You're like, okay, please, whatever it takes. What if you interrupt their pattern? Tell them, you know what, I don't need clients. And I only work, I want to be sure you're serious. I want to be sure you're serious. And then you give them a requirement. Can you have your business partner call me by tomorrow morning or forget about this story? It's leverage and it's powerful. It looks like something small, it's really powerful. First of all, they differentiate you from any other coach. They differentiate you. You're not just there for the money. And their expectation was, this one, when I say I'm available, it's just sign up. Especially when you see a pattern of not changing. I like asking my clients, have you seen a coach before? And then they just want to come and add my name in their history of no change. No, not mine. Please, you look elsewhere. So you can tell the client, okay, so this is how I work, and I don't think you're ready for that change. I can give you more time. When you're ready, this is what will happen. 3 things. Either it's on the person has paid before you begin, then you know you're ready, or the person has done something, an assignment you've given them, then you know they are ready. What you're doing is you're not torturing your client. No, you're helping your client to benefit from your coaching, because you can be the best coach and your client is not benefiting because they are going back with the same patterns. They're going back with the same patterns. So my encouragement is for all of us to use pattern interrupt. Think about how this can change your client's life. Think about how this can change your presentations, and think about how this can change your personal life. Look at the conversations around you. Sometimes someone tells you, oh, that was a good session. That was a good session. Like we used to, when you go to church, some people come out of church and they say, wow, that was so powerful. Oh my God. And then you just join, you're like, yeah, oh my God, Jesus. That was, oh Jesus. That was powerful. You are not interrupting their pattern. Say, oh yeah, it was. What did you take home? And then they go back to, okay, by the way, what did I take home? You're interrupting their pattern. Another one I learned with my interaction with my friends is to bounce back the question to someone asking me. So a friend of mine asked me a question, and then I bounced it back, and I was like, wow, this is good. This I can use with my clients, another conversation. So if someone asks you a question, you just tell them, wow, that's amazing. In fact, I like that question. What do you think? So they expected you to just provide answers. So I was in this meeting of friends where we are talking, and because I'm a life coach, everyone is just like this on my case, looking at me. And they expect every answer, every question, they have a right, because I'm their friend, to answer. And I just turned it around. That's a good question. What do you think? And you could see the body language, you could see, oh, I didn't expect that. The guy is sweating. That is what makes people change. When we can pause and not flow with people's standard of thinking, we change this world. We change our conversation, and we change how things are done. We change how coaching is done. How do you interrupt a pattern when a client says, I don't have the time for coaching? Let me see on the comment section. How do you interrupt your clients when they come to you and say, oh, I don't have the time? How do you interrupt their pattern? What question would you ask, or what would you do if a client tells you, I don't have the time? And I also want you to think about if a client tells you, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. What would you do in such a scenario? You can unmute yourself. For the interest of time, just unmute yourself. What would you do if your client tells you, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time? What do you do? Because I know these are real things we go through as coaches. What are you going to do? Who wants to go first? What do you do? I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Or it's too expensive. How will you interrupt your client's time pattern when they tell you it's too expensive, I don't have the money, I don't have the time? Anyone? That answer is correct. Just say it, the one in your heart. Who wants to go? Who wants to go first? Just unmute yourself. What are you going to say to your client? What are you going to do if a client tells you, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and the price is too high?
Maybe if I can try.
Yes, please. Coach John,
Yes.
please help us.
Just trying to bring on some being a sense of humor.
Yes.
You can ask, do you have time for your meals?
Do you have time for your meals? Is that a
Yes.
yes or no question, or is it open-ended?
If it is a yes, then now we bring the issue of I don't have time for this.
Yes. Wow. Nice one. Thank you,
And then
Coach. Go ahead.
thank you. I was saying, and then now you can, if you can paint a picture.
Yes.
Because now bringing coaching is equivalent in improving your lifestyle.
Yes.
And also eating will also help you improve your physical being. So all this, if they can be compared,
yes.
if you can have time for meals,
yeah,
then you can have time for coaching.
Okay, nice one. Thank you, Coach. Next, who wants to go? Is that Coach Moriah? Coach Moriah wanted to say something. What do you think? Coach Yvonne is saying it's too expensive. Can you compare the price with that of finding your purpose? Wow. I like that. I like that, Coach Yvonne. That's a deep one. Can you compare the price with that of finding your purpose? Good one. I like that. Who wants to go next? This is too expensive. Your coaching is too expensive. It's too high.
Coach.
Oh, that's Coach Moriah. Go ahead, Coach. What do you think?
I think the approach that I use is when they say it's too expensive.
Yeah.
The first question with a broad smile is compared to. All right.
Too expensive compared to.
Yes, they feel that dash.
Yeah.
And then I always I use that general example of maybe why people still buy maize from man who sells by the road. And people are addicted to that maize.
Yes.
And I just say, you see how good it tastes to the people who buy.
Yes.
There are people who have moved on from that.
Yes.
And they would prefer to either have that maize when they know that they're eating it from a safe place from their mind. They may feel the roadside is not safe.
Yeah.
So I play with their mentors like that. So I always allow the client to complete the dash.
Yeah.
When they complete that dash, I ask them, and what does that mean to you?
To you. Awesome. I like that. Coach Mercy, please help us. This is too expensive. Your coaching is too expensive. How do you deal with that? How do you interrupt that pattern? It's too expensive. It's too high. Coach Mercy, are you there? Okay, as we wait for Coach Mercy, Coach.
Yes,
okay.
I'm there.
Yes, Coach. Go ahead. It's too expensive. It's too expensive, or I don't have time for this. I don't have time for coaching. How do you interrupt such a pattern?
I think for me, it's about that's something that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Since you last asked that question.
Yes. You're thinking.
One of the things I've been thinking about is possibly equate, if, for example, if they go to Java and they take a cup of coffee, which is about 200 shillings, and they take it every day. Just try to type the kind of expenses they have.
Yes.
If they can be able to afford that, then they can also afford coffee.
Awesome. And you can even go deeper into how much did you spend the last, if your program is 3 months, you can ask them, how much did you spend the last 3 months? And you can invite them into a friendly conversation. How much? And they can tell you, oh, yeah, this is I've spent in the last 3 months at least 90,000. Oh, really? And how has that left your life? How has it left your life? What kind of impact does that have in your life? Well, not much. I'm still where I was 3 months ago. Would you like that to change? You see, so the conversation is on value. So they need to understand the value of coaching. And when our client says, I don't have time, of course, they are focusing on it's like they're rejecting their own change. And you're not there to just say, oh, because they are rejecting, then that's it. You want to do your best. A question like, oh, I don't have time for this. What if you found only 10 minutes for our time together? What if you found only 10 minutes? Some of us think coaching has to be 1 hour. It doesn't. It can be 5 minutes. What if you found only 10 minutes a day to focus, a week to focus on your coaching? What difference could that make? And you let them think about it. Because this is a possibility. You are expanding their awareness, you're expanding their thinking. What if you found just 10 minutes? Another one is story. Stories challenge the pattern of your client. So our client tells you, I don't have the money for the course. I don't have the money for this program, Jeff. And then you share your own story. You go into what it took for you to become the coach you are today with your client. As a coach, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and share your story of struggle, your story of search, your story of success, and how you made those decisions. That will break their patterns and it will challenge them to make their move. So you can interrupt. I mean, there are simple ways. This week, I want you to interrupt patterns. If there's someone who's not changed and you've been texting them, this time call them. If you've been talking, with that pastoral voice, maybe you want to change that and raise your vocal vibration. Say, really? Really? No, I didn't expect that from you. Yeah, good. Now we are making progress. Pattern interrupt is limitless. If someone never expected you to get mad and then you get mad, like Jesus, and kick tables in church, that'll be a huge pattern interrupt. The Bible says, get angry, but don't sin. Don't let it lead to sin. It should lead to a breakthrough. And some of us don't know how to use our anger. You know, sometimes you need to learn to use your anger. You can be angry, but not sin. Say, really? What do you mean? Come on. You know, you get there energetically, you get into that emotion, and you use that emotion to leverage on this person. They have never seen you as mad. They will never. That will bring the change in that relationship. Coach Paula is saying it is expensive because you're choosing to stay stuck in what is familiar. I like that. That's self-awareness compared to beginning your transformational journey and live a conscious life. Is it expensive because you're choosing to stay stuck? Amazing. So you're already doing this. I want you to be consciously interrupting patterns with your conversations. Even taking a deep breath interrupts patterns. Like if you always talk consistently without stopping, you can interrupt your own pattern by taking a deep breath, slowing down, looking people in the eye and tell them, tell me more. They say everything and you say, tell me more. And then they say everything they think they know and you say, tell me more. You're interrupting their pattern that they don't know. And someone said, I don't know, coach. If you knew, what would you talk about now? If you knew, possibility breaks and disrupts patterns. So my prayer is that you may use this in your coaching program and in your life, because this is more than the coaching business. This is life, and the quality of our lives will determine how we enjoy and experience life. The quality of what we allow in our lives, the standard we live our lives. And we can interrupt anything you don't like, anything you don't want, and has been with you for so long. You can interrupt it. Some of us need to say no. We always say yes. Some of us need to say yes. We always say no. That's your pattern. Interrupt it. Say yes. Yes, Lord, I got this. I got this. And some of us have the pattern of waiting. The pattern is always to wait for others to make a move. You see, this is an industry where your success is defined by your own unique personality and identity and how you step up and step out. And so you cannot wait for anyone. There's no one you're waiting for apart from yourself. So you want to challenge yourself and say, I got this. I got what it takes, and do it. Because we are not rewarded for what we dreamed of doing. We are rewarded for the actions we took. And one of the ways to interrupt patterns is action. If you take action, you interrupt that pattern. God bless you. Good night, and see you again on Monday for another exciting training. God bless.